On our fourth stop to the final destination, God, this is what a stop this is. This movie is a nightmare. Okay, we're talking about Final Destination 4/3D
/ the Final Destination, which just shows you know already if a movie's calling it the final one in a great series that you know that that's just going to be a shit entry. Because why would you end it? There's no point. Thank God for the fifth one. That's all I gotta say.
They had to have called it this because they didn't expect the third one to be the peak of the series and make a lot of money. They're like, crap, this is not the third one, so it can't just be Final Destination 3D. It's the fourth one, and we can't call it Final Destination 4 3D.
But it's like, at that time, did every movie that was called 3D have to, or like that had 3D, did it have to be called 3D? Like, I know that they do that, but it's like, you know, Avatar was just Avatar. It wasn't Avatar 3D.
That's because Avatar is the only movie during that period of time that was not marketed purely for 3D. That's movie, true, along with several other ones. It's just, hey, come see this because it's 3D.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But it's just like, so like I was reading about this because I was just so confused how this drop in quality could happen because the first three are such bangers. Yeah. Like if I didn't know that the fifth one was great, this would have made me want to give up on the whole series, I think. Right? It's a pretty depressing entry in like a really, really fun and original series. It's shocking that you could even do a movie this boring in the Final Destination series.
Especially after the third one, which we just talked about. It's my favorite easily.
Now I think it is too. I agree with you. After rewatching these again, I think 3 is the best. It takes the best elements from 1 and 2 and rocks with them.
And gives them really good characters.
Yes, exactly. That's something that is present not as much in the second one, but in the first one. And so I love that it has like kind of the best. It learns its lessons from the first two and makes it even better. And this one, it feels like, hey, remember how we liked 2? We're just going to kind of do that, but a shittier version is what I feel like, right? I mean, even the opening disaster is almost the same kind of thing. Like, sure, they're at a racetrack, but it's still a car crash.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the third one came back. James Wong came back with a vengeance. And he's like, I'm going to take the formula that I started and I'm going to perfect it. And he did. And then, David R. Ellis. The second one is great. And, R.I.P., he died a couple of years after this movie. I don't know what happened, but like the second one was a bar that he needed to meet, and he didn't even like start the race. Like I don't even know. Like it was bizarre.
Very bizarre that it comes from the same director. It's like I can see it almost feels like a lesser director trying to mimic his movie, and it's not happening. And I don't know what fault it is. I don't know if it's because of the 3D. I think that might be part of it, but I think that's not everything. But I did read that like apparently like so this production interview with like a reporter, of course they're all like, oh, it was so cool filming in 3D because you could like do a take and then go into this little booth and like review it in 3D to make sure it looks right, or you could like fix it, right? But then it's like, so they were talking about how cool it was, but then it sounds like from what I've heard that filming with the 3D cameras made the whole process take twice as long. So actors were waiting around for hours for technical shit and redoing things a billion times. So then by the time they got to something usable, they just didn't give a fuck anymore. And so they anticipated like a long shoot for the 3D, but like it went double that at least. And I just don't think they could figure out how to make it a good movie by the end. So like if it had more money and maybe like more of a skilled production team is what it sounds like, it would have been okay. But it sounds like everyone on set did not enjoy their time making it. So I feel like that's pretty representative of the movie because it's not fun in any way.
Yeah. So this is a prime example where I'm going to blame the studio because they're like, hey, we need a 3D movie because that's the trend. So everything around this movie has to revolve around being 3D. which is very conflicting to all the other Final Destination movies because they're all done practically.
Thank you. It takes out like half of the thing that makes it like so much fun with all the death scenes. Like obviously they're elaborate, but the physical effects are like so effective in the first 3 movies that like when you remove that, I mean they still have some in this movie, but like it's just so horrible with the 3D that like the CGI added shit just does not work.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
It really ruins it because like if you take the death from the second one of the kid who gets smashed by glass, obviously that's fake. But
really, they didn't just kill a child on set?
I think it would have been better, but but like the fact that they made a whole mold of a person and we actually see that mold get smashed, it makes that kill 10 times crazier. And any death in this movie, if they would have done that approach instead of we're doing this 3D so it has to be CGI, this movie actually would have had some pretty awesome deaths.
I think that like the CGI just robs them of any coolness. Like it's just like, oh, that looks so much more fake. Even if it's like, I know that it's obviously fake if it's prosthetics, but it's just, I mean, it's just a little something that makes a big difference. And I think going against practical effects is like, probably you're right, a studio move because that was the trend. But it's like, hello, anybody who knows Final Destination should know that that's a death wish. Do not do it.
Yeah.
Like obviously you've never watched one of these movies, asshole.
Yeah, the most CGI that we accepted in this franchise up until now is the log bouncing in the second one.
Which is fine. That's perfect because it gives that perfect effect and nightmare inducing. And thank God that's not real because I've like, as we've been going through these movies, it's shocking to me that some of these horrifying deaths are actually based on real fucking deaths.
Yes. And
including
I know you got one and we'll get to that death.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I'm sorry. I'm still traumatized and thinking about it all the time. But like the previous one, you know, I just think every movie, all 3 movies, the previous ones have great opening disasters. And I think it's partially the practical, but it's also relatability of the main event, whatever they're doing, right?
Yep.
Like you said, like last episode, I think the roller coaster was really great because if you haven't like, you know, if you're younger and you haven't driven your own car on the freeway yet or like been on a plane, everyone probably has at least been to a roller coaster. Yeah. And this one is like
everyone's either been on a roller coaster or has always been scared of roller coasters.
Exactly. Like if you've never been on one, you're still that's probably because you're terrified of it.
Yeah.
And then with this one, it's like a very niche event where it's like a NASCAR kind of event. And it's just like, this is weird because it doesn't make sense that this would be the thing that they chose. Like, I just don't understand why.
I'll tell you why. I'm convinced one of the writers or several of the writers wrote this opening purely because they were big Dane Cook fans. And Dane Cook has that one joke about seeing something on the news of a woman taking a tire to the face.
Oh my God, you're so right.
Takes a tire to the face.
I love that bit. Oh my fucking God, you are so right though. That is 100% what happens in this movie too. I mean, she gets it in the back of the head, but still. Like
the first time it's to the face and then it's the back of the head.
That's true. She does get it. She always gets a tire to the head, basically, that same chick. She was just there to die. But wow, if that is probably accurate. And sadly to say, like, it would make me feel better if this movie was written by multiple people, but like it's one guy who also wrote Final Destination 2. So like if that hasn't been clear to everyone, this is the same writing and directing team behind Final Destination 2.
That is shocking.
I know. So yeah, what was he thinking with this? I just feel like not as many people have even been to an event like this. And like there was already a bunch of car crashes and shit. I just don't think we got anything new. Nothing cool, nothing exciting.
The first note that I took when I was watching this movie is that the opening song, it's called Devour by a band called Shinedown. And that song rocks. I love that song. And I wrote in my notes, I'm like, the opening song slaps. is this going to be the best part of the entire movie?
Yes.
Turns out it was.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It's like you almost think like once the actually, I don't think even the opening disaster in that whole song. I think the best part of this movie is the opening credits. I think that's the only good part.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I'll say that's the best part of this movie, which is X-rays of like all the different deaths from the whole series.
I did write in when that happened. I was like, these credits tell me exactly how much they are going to rely on 3D.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. The 3D sucks, but it's also like whatever. I know this movie is obviously like it's the gimmick of 3D. It's funny because in that production interview I read, they were like the whole crew and everything they were talking about, like they talked to fucking the guys who worked with James Cameron on Avatar for 3D shit, and they were like, the big thing is you can't just throw shit at the audience, like at the screen. That's just like the cheap gimmicky thing. You got to make it where it feels like you're really there and it feels like depth perception. And I'm like, no, that's what you just did that though. Like that's exactly what they fucking did this whole movie. Like I don't see how they use 3D in any exciting ways outside of throwing things at your fucking face. That's all they did.
Yeah. I mean, like you and I have very clear thoughts on Avatar as a movie, and that it's just a movie.
It's Ferngully, but live action.
That is the only movie of this era that you can actually watch not in 3D, and you're like, oh, this is a movie. Mm-hmm. All these other 3D movies were like, oh yeah, I remember that this was supposed to be in 3D, and when you watch, you're like, that looks like it was supposed to be in 3D. Like,
yeah, like it's, I mean, I get it. They thought it was going to be the future, but like, they were just very sorely mistaken. But it just is so like, I at least like that they're just showing highlights from the last 3 movies.
Yeah.
Probably because they knew that this movie was going to suck. And they're like, at least we'll make people feel good here. Hey, remember this good shit? We're going to have no good deaths that even rival one of these. Not even the shittier deaths.
While this movie sucks, I laughed my ass off at so many parts. Like,
oh, 100%.
For example, the tampons in the ears.
Mm-hmm.
It was like,
that was good.
No one has ever done this ever. Like,
yeah, it was a weird little thing. I don't know. There's a lot of weird things like that I don't think were meant to be funny, but like they're hilarious in hindsight. Like I'm sure that 90% of the stuff I laughed at was not intentional.
Well, it's kind of like how in the third one we were saying the weight room scene was funny because it's like, I feel like this is James Wong telling us he's never been in a weight room. I feel like this is the writers telling us they've never been to the South and been to a NASCAR event. Like they're like, this is what Southern people are like. They put tampons in their kids' ears.
This is like, yeah, like if I was from the South, I would probably be very offended. Like they literally have a guy whistling Dixie. Like I'm just like, do people fucking do that still? This guy looks like he's kind of young, not like 80 years old to even know what, I mean, you know what I mean? And it was very strong with the racism, which I guess is relevant now. Maybe not as much when this movie came out. I feel like it's gotten a lot more relevant, but
his character in the credits is the name /racist. So
that's better than the mom with the kid. The mom was putting the tampons in the kid's ears. She's just MILF.
I know. I saw that on IMDb, and then I watched the credits at the end. I'm like, they literally have her labeled as MILF.
And only because that jackass guy just goes, oh, that sucks that the MILF died. It's like, and I actually like that guy. I mean, he's obviously meant to just be an asshole, but I was like, at least he's kind of funny or like whatever, entertaining. He's doing something funny for me to watch, I guess. I don't know. He was just being a total doucher, and I was like, whatever. He's not as annoying or as good at it as the guy from Friday the 13th, the remake. That guy is like literally, he's the best I've ever seen. But
the biggest offense is that the entire reason for the crash is not because death intervenes. It's because somebody leaves a screwdriver in the thing. I'm like, these people are, whether you like NASCAR or not, you have to acknowledge that these people are some of the most disciplined and skilled people at doing this one thing in fractions of seconds.
Thank you.
And they're like, oh, I forgot the screwdriver. Like,
well, I actually, when I was like doing, I feel like this movie, the fourth one, I did the most research for because I was like, I just need to know why this movie is. Like, what? I didn't even know what to search. I was just like, why? Final Destination 4. Like, what happened? What is this? And I find that, like, I found this really funny theory about Final Destination movies in general, but they're like, it's kind of funny because, like, yeah, death plays a part, but like a lot of things that end up going wrong are like things that, like, you know, the government like built, like a bridge or like shit like this, that like other companies should be fucking prepared, and like workers should be who are technically doing this shit should be way more on top of their shit. I feel like everything's loose, nobody's double checking things. It's like it doesn't really put a lot of confidence in humanity, really. Is kind of the underlying theme. So like that kind of tracks, but like, you know what I mean? It's like things are always like, oh yeah, we should check that, but it's like rusty and like things are like screws are falling off. No one notices. It's like, wow, okay. It's just like I think that they think like everyone who is a worker is just like lazy and fucking stupid.
Well, of all the premonition deaths that happen, the one that I did enjoy was the MILF getting smashed by the engine.
You liked that?
I was like, that looked pretty good. Like
that was cool, I guess. Yeah, but it was just like, I don't know, is that exciting or interesting?
I'm saying comparatively of all the premonition deaths, there's
okay, yeah,
a lot of people were just smashed. That one dude had the 3D spike through the mouth.
Yeah,
I like the smash. I like the engine smash.
I personally think the best in the opening is the tire at the end of it, because I just like the effect afterwards of like her, like it's practical and she's like all fucked up, but like that's the only one and it still just looks like shit. But I'm like, at least that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I did note that, and I was like, this kill would have been better if we didn't have the 3D tire coming at us. For 3 seconds. Yeah. The 3D effect ruined it.
I'm now just still thinking about the fact that it's probably just based on that Dane Cook joke, which makes it, I don't know, is that better or worse? I can't decide.
Look, a tire to the face.
It's like that tire was hunting this bitch down, though. If like it hit her in the premonition, but then like she left this fucking stadium and it still hit her. Like it found a way. It fucking climbed over that huge wall. It was just crazy.
So then we go to I think it's the worst named business in a movie, Death by Caffeine.
And if you just avoided death, why the fuck would you go anywhere that it has the word death in it? God, these people.
It's like the screen shoots over to him, like, that's a terrible name. Like, it's not even a good pun. Like,
no. None of the things in this movie that are trying to be anything make any sense. And then none of them are like, I'm never like, oh, that was clever, or like, oh, that's funny, I didn't notice that. I'm like, I've literally watched this movie like 4 times in the last 24 hours because I've seen the other Final Destinations like a billion times, so I know them by heart. But this one, I haven't seen that much. So after watching it, there's nothing else to this movie. It just sucks. No offense, but.
And then we get the 3D premonitions, which are just
that's another thing. Terrible.
Worst thing.
In that production interview, they were talking about how excited they were for people to see that and how they were changing up the way that the premonitions happen, where it's more like symbols and clues. And I was like, they're literally just like the fucking things that kill people. Like, it's just the same kind of shit. It's just, it's just not anything different. And it's definitely not interesting. It looks like shit every single time.
And this is also how we know that, that David R. Ellis did not watch the third one, because the third one was all clues, but they were in pictures. So like
that was actually smart. Yeah.
This isn't switching the formula up.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, yeah, when they thought that was new, I'm like, did you guys not pay attention to the last one? I mean, Jesus, it kind of feels like another play on like the thing they were confusingly doing in the second one, where she was having weird visions, but then it was like, oh, that's my death. And again, the rules on that one are just really murky and I don't understand. I just think like these guys just, they're not as much like James Wong, he's Final Destination to me more.
Yeah.
He's got the right rules, vibes, like he's putting it down. He's setting the standards. The other guy's just trying to catch up.
But then we get to maybe the best scene in the entire movie, which is the tow truck killer, or the tow truck death.
Yeah.
The racist tow truck death, which was just hilarious.
Yeah. Why can't we be friends? I did like that started playing, but like Also, just this guy was just a walking caricature of a racist. Like, the thing is that you see, like, when they, like, the plot things that they're using are just such cliches for every single character that it's like, it's just grating. And, like, thank God that this guy wasn't around for longer in this movie. Because if he was, I wouldn't have been able to handle it. He was way too fucking much. And he
Yeah.
even said the N-word with the hard R at the end. I was like, Jesus. Like, I just was really, like, surprised by that.
Yeah, this movie, the characters that they establish are like, here's the characters, this is who they are the rest of the movie. There's no nuance, there's no development, there's not even a growing fear. It's just this is them the rest of the movie.
It's just like it's milquetoast. Everything is just so average. It's weird. It's like, at least with every other Final Destination, regardless of your feelings, I think that they're all really strong and unique and like really fun in their own ways. And they change things up and do something different each time. This one is just like, we're done. We're out of ideas.
Yeah.
There's not these deaths that you're going through. I'm just like, God, they're just depressing, really.
And it also is just a lot worse because it's like right after the third one, they're like, how about we just take not 2 steps, let's take 4 steps back.
Yeah, exactly. Literally. Nice pun there. But it's like, I just don't understand what they were thinking. I think maybe just as someone with anxiety, I think of a million ways to die every single day. So like, I should be writing these fucking movies because clearly these guys haven't really thought of it. Like, which one's next? Is it the hair salon?
Yeah.
That was one I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah. So the tow truck death was funny, which
I guess we missed that.
I mean, it's funny and which is memorable for this movie. But the way he dies though is a theme that I feel like we see throughout the movie. Actually, this theme starts before this, but it's this theme of just containers with liquid randomly falling over.
Yeah, the wind blowing them over.
This starts with the race, which has the most bizarre thing I've ever seen, I guess, heard in a movie. The oil falls over, pours onto the racetrack, and then a car drives through it, and then there's a dolphin squealing.
It like makes the sound effect 3 times. I've watched this movie so many times now in the past few days. Like, when you mentioned that, I was like, are you kidding me? So then I started these rewatches and I double checked it, Jace. It plays it 3 fucking times. And I was like, 3 times? They were that confident with this sound effect that it was even going to work once. They're like, let's do it 3 fucking times. What?
For all the random people that love Final Destination listening to this, me and Renee don't really talk to each other pre these recordings, but I texted her and I was like, please tell me you heard the dolphin noises.
Yeah,
this is the only thing I need to confirm.
This is what's very important.
It's the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. Just this dolphin noise. Like, how did no one in any of the pre-screenings, let alone the movie theater, like this movie came out in 2009, social media was a thing. There should be a record of this sound in the movie.
I'm just like so confused because, like, I mean, do you know what it sounds like if a car drives through oil? Because I have no idea.
It sound like a dolphin.
Okay, because I was like, does it sound like that? Maybe, I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of. But it just sounds like maybe that was just the only special effect that they had on hand. They were out of money. The 3D took too much shit, and they're just like, fuck it, it'll sound like a dolphin. We'll do it 3 times so it really sounds like it's real.
The funny thing is that oil is essentially like a lubricant, so it shouldn't make a sound at all because it slicks things up. So somebody just threw in a dolphin squeal into a feature-length film.
It's barely a feature-length film. Did you notice that this movie's like 80 minutes?
Yeah, but like it's the most successful of all the movies. Ugh. It did $186 million at the bottom.
Because of the third one. The third one was such a banger that people were like, the fourth one's gonna be just as good, and it was horrible. That death was like just ugh.
But anyway, so then we have another container falling over and spilling oil, and then catches the racist on fire. And shout out to that guy, because the actor did a partial burn stunt, and then they pulled him out and pulled a full stuntman in to do the full burn. So
nice.
Kudos to him. Went out in a blaze of glory.
What a pussy! Didn't go full burn.
Yeah. Then we get the MILF death.
Yes.
Which, God, I love that she's credited as the MILF.
I mean, that's about all of that her character is. And like anything that is shown throughout the movie really supports it, I guess.
Apparently her name was Samantha, according to subtitles. Wow. But
I like MILF.
The most nervous I got in this entire sequence, because most of it is just a red herring. A lot of this movie is just red herring deaths. But was when they were cleaning her toenails. That's when I was like, oh my God, no. What?
I knew that wasn't going to kill her, but it's just like it kind of like it feels like nails on a chalkboard when like the sound with it. And I was just like, ooh.
Well, there's nothing worse than getting pricked under your nail. Just seeing that up close, I'm like, oh. And plus, I haven't seen this as many times. This might have been my first time seeing it all the way through. I was like, oh God, does she get fucked up by this? And no.
I mean, I don't like it, but yeah, that's the thing. You're right that there's just too many red herrings with every single death scene. It's like that none of the clues even end up making any sense. And like everything is just, it's like, oh, it could be this, it could be that. Oh, wait, it's something totally separate that has nothing to do with this. And so I was like, I don't know. I thought that you were supposed to play on fears. Like a lot of the things about Final Destination that the writer and director both said were like things about this is like, you have to make people feel tense in like an everyday scenario that like they could die at any point in any place in life, but like play on a place that like has the right vibe for it. Right. I've never been nervous when I've had my hair cut. Not once. I've never had, and I'm an anxious person. I get anxiety about weird things, but never getting my hair cut. I just have to say, maybe the thing with the bottle of stuff, like the hairspray in the straightener burning. Sure. That would be like a fire, but then that has nothing to do with anything. It's like her sons are shitty and that's why she dies.
Yeah, and you would smell that if it was starting to burn. And you talk about getting haircut. I can't do that as a bald man. But
sorry, I didn't mean to make it feel bad.
No. As a man who gets pedicures, you won't die from getting your toenail pricked, but like it's a very enjoyable environment that you're in. At the most, you're getting tickled. So this was really a bad decision of a situation to like, let's have someone think about getting killed. That's
what I'm saying. Like in the fifth one, they do like at a massage parlor and you're like, oh, that wouldn't make sense because that's very relaxing. But they do it with like, it's like acupuncture kind of shit. So it's like, that's actually scary, right? That's actually like the right vibe. So maybe if they had done something like, she was getting like a really crazy, like a shaved haircut on one side or something. And then they like fucking shaved off her eyes or something. I don't know. Like you know what I mean? Like fucking got her nose off. I don't know. Could have had more fun with it.
If they were going to do it, it'd have to be at like a men's parlor where they do the like straight razor.
That would have been perfect. Yeah, they wasted doing a salon with like a girl getting fucking just a hair trim. I'm like, this isn't. I've got my hair trimmed 1,000 times. No one's ever cut my fucking head off. Those are tiny ass scissors.
Yeah, and when I'm getting pedicures, I'm just asking the people weird questions like, what's the biggest foot you've ever worked on?
Ew, gross. I would never want to know that.
Oh, they love me.
I bet they do.
But yeah, then she gets a rock through the eye, which is uneventful.
And it's so stupid because she says, I've got my eye on you right before. And I'm like, is this Scary Movie? Is that what this is? Like, this almost feels like a parody of Final Destination movies, right?
Well, it does. And the weird thing is that, like, it seems like David R. Ellis, in Final Destination 2, our favorite death was the plain glass smashing someone death, which is a red herring death because all this other stuff happens. There's a couple of red herring deaths in that movie.
But she gets the clues about the pigeons, at least.
Yeah. This movie, it just seems like, hey, those red herring deaths worked. Let's just do that for every kill in this movie.
That's what I'm saying. They overkill it to the point where, like, it's not even clever. Because at least with, like, the pigeons one, the pigeons are also, like, attacking the window. when he's in the room and all the shit's happening. So like it kind of fits with that. So you think it's still like, oh, that's the clue. So that actually is a good red herring because it makes sense. These red herrings are like, okay, so none of this shit makes any sense. None of it matters. His clue also was not about anything that was in the salon besides what, the scissors, which didn't even play a part. It was like the cigar or the cigarette, the lawn, or like, and then the rock and the lawnmower or whatever. Like that was it. I just can't. This movie makes zero sense.
So then we get that death is another example of they did that for the 3D. They did it just for that 1 millisecond of the rock coming at the camera.
But again, that's what they said before in the production interview. That's like the cheap shit. We're not going to be doing that. And I'm like, well, what happened? What happened, guys? Was it because they just were like, fuck it, we're doing it easy? Because like they couldn't just redo these shots 100 times every day.
So then we get to the point in that's happened in every movie where they streamline the discovery of how the death plan or whatever. And they have this short conversation of like, hey, there's these people that said if you do this, then here's the plan. And then if you save someone, then some people say it stops the plan. Some people say it just moves you to the back of the line. And also this, again, just they say in the movie, literally everyone has died that has gone through this. So who is actually recording this? But then immediately after they do this whole exposition of death and how it works, they then say, hey, this guy's next. We should go and try and save him because then maybe that will break the chain. And it's like, you just explained how it doesn't work. Why?
Right. Why are you thinking it's going to work again? Thank you. I just feel like, again, it just feels like they're taking old ideas from the second one and they're trying to do them again, but not fully. Like they're just half-assing it. You know,
But
they even have the guy who tries to commit suicide a bunch of times and they make it like a joke. It's like, it's not even scary.
I'm going to get to him, but I will say that the mechanic dying in the cheese grater front, I called it the fence cheese grater. I thought that was pretty good.
That was actually okay.
It was made for 3D. If they didn't do that, it would have been better. But I was like, that was actually comparatively pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad. I do feel like this movie too. I was going to ask you, did you feel like a lot of the deaths were like caused by the main characters again? Or not as much this time?
Yeah, kind of. Not as much as the third one, but yeah.
A little bit.
This one, the cause of the death is 3D.
Yeah, I would say most of the time it's also like, it's just something random. I thought the cheese grater was cool, but like I just feel like it was too reliant on the 3D thing. That it would have been way cooler if they just would have, like, if he would have fully gotten pushed through, way cooler. Like he'd turn into like strings, you know, or like chunks, I guess, like diamond shapes. That would have been great. But they just kind of half did it so that it would like be falling out in 3D. But it's like, it's just, we don't get that effect anymore. So it looks stupid.
The weird thing is I watched like a behind the scenes thing of it. And like that scene, they did it practically. Like they made a model body and then like pushed it through the fence. But then they just CGI'd over it for the 3D. And I'm like, you're ruining this.
Yeah, why did it like, so it could have looked way better. That's so annoying. Why the fuck would they do that? Why do they want to ruin it? Okay, sorry. Just I'm getting mad. It's just like, it's like this movie just takes things that are really, really great and goes, what if we did them shitty? That's what I feel like. And I'm just like, why the fuck would that be? Like, why?
All right, so then we get to the kill of the worst person in the entire series, the Playboy.
Is he the worst or is he the best? I'm just kidding. No,
I mean he's funny. I've only seen that actor in one other thing.
What?
He's in a CW comic book show called Legends of Tomorrow. A lot of these actors have actually been on CW shows.
They seem like CW shows. Like I was like, this main guy is like good looking, but he's just so wooden. Like this movie almost feels like it'd be a CW or like a sci-fi movie. That's the like vibe that all the actors give, so that tracks that they would be from there.
They get the Actors Guild minimum. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And like that's what I'm saying. Like, but this guy, like I will say, out of all the other actors in this movie, like he's one of the ones that I'm like, I know he's a jackass, but like I don't hate him. Like there's a lot of other people I'm just like, get the fuck. I hope they die right now.
Well, it's like we get the sex scene where he's just saying the weirdest shit ever. And
Don't
then,
be lazy. Don't be lazy.
And then he's like, I finished 4 minutes ago. It's like,
I'm like,
wait, what was all that for then?
What have you been doing? Does he just have like, is he always hard? Yeah. What? Did she not notice? What is going on here? That sex scene was maybe it's like, this is like their attempt at a sex scene and they don't know what it's really like. I don't know. Like the same thing with like the gym scene. I don't know. I've never been in there. This must be what it's like.
Also, who's just like fucking randos at the pool? Like,
I mean, this guy, it sounds like that was his whole vibe. It sounded, I mean, I thought he was funny because he's like, oh, why is she being such a bitch? And they're like, she just saw somebody fucking get mutilated. We all did. And he's like, yeah, so and it's like, well, the rest of us are freaked out. And he's like, maybe you could have some emotions. He's like, whatever. Like, never tried it. But it's like, I kind of like that. Like, there's always one dick always in the group who doesn't believe. And I kind of like that this guy never really he never has a moment where he changes and he's like terrified of shit. I mean, he's definitely probably scared as fuck when he's dying, but like, you know, he's always just a jackass to the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So this guy is dying in parallel to the girl because they died at the same point in the premonition. But we get this weird little like thing where the girl gives a guy a penny, like a homeless guy. She gives him some change, and then he has, I think it's the best line in the entire movie. He's like, a penny, that's some bullshit. And then he throws it.
I was going to bring that up too. Why is he's offended? This bitch.
The entire movie, I was waiting for the penny to come into play.
For the penny to drop.
It doesn't.
No, it's a totally throwaway scene.
And so then we get the car wash scene, which I think is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen.
It's so bad. And it's like, that would be a prime place for like a horror setting. Like it could be it is scary on its own when you're in there.
I thought it was entertaining, but like there was certain things like the power, like the circuit board goes crazy. And so then the conveyor belt stops, but the washers keep spinning.
Yeah.
And then like the water filling up the car. As a former Scion driver, I love those box cars. But I was like, I don't think those cars are airtight.
No, I don't think that this would happen. Like that's the thing is I just felt like it would be scarier if like something had happened and like the things had like broken the windows or some shit and like gotten like then she was like getting attacked and like fucked up by the actual shit that's outside the car. That would be the place for that to happen. But being like inside the car and it's just like, oh, it's filling with water or whatever, like that just is not exciting. And also like his stupid fucking clue of clear rivers water, I was like, it's like they're making fun of it too, because it's like, yeah, she sounds like a fucking water company, like, oh yeah, that's bottled water, clear rivers water. But like also like it's like, oh, don't go near the water. It's like, isn't this guy like a lifeguard or whatever the fuck he is? Like no shit.
Well, and then
but his death is probably, I think, my favorite in the movie. I think it's the best.
Yeah. So then we swap back to the pool, and this whole thing I thought was weird. Yeah, his death is horrific.
Doesn't make any sense. He gets his intestines sucked out of his butt through the pool that's draining, but like the water's still full.
The thing that didn't make sense to me is that he dives in the pool to like find his coin, but then it immediately cuts to his ass getting sucked into the drain. So it's like he was head first and then somehow switched to ass first and then just gets sucked down. Like
the stream was that powerful. It flipped him over and was like, get that ass over here. I just feel like, so I was like really paranoid to watch this because like I heard about this death and that's why I hadn't watched the fourth one. Plus I heard it was horrible. So I was like, what's the point? And then when we were doing this, I was like, oh God, I'm gonna have to watch that scene. Cause I was like, that sounds like the worst way to go. If I could choose a way to go, that's definitely the last on the list. and it's like not as horrifying as I thought. Like, this is Final Destination. I assumed they would show something. And the fact that they don't really show anything, it's just the 3D blood spouting out and then the organs, I guess. But like, it's still very short that you see it. And it's mostly just him underwater screaming.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you even act that? Like, what does that feel like? I can't even know. And the horrifying part about this death is that this is based on a real fucking death.
Yeah. You sent that to me and I was disturbed.
I'm still not over it, Jace. I thought that this was like a fucking urban legend, or like I heard that there's a short story about it too. Like, but no, this is based on a legit real death that was only like in 2009. So again, not even that short. Final Destination, they see a fucking fun death like that and they go, we're using it. I don't care if it's only been a year. So this is like the girl died not instantly, but like she had complications from like multiple transplants of all of her organs. So like the following year she died, but like Jesus, I didn't even think that was possible. And I was already freaked out about that. So now I'm just like never going to get in the pool again. This is fucked. And that was like it. I mean, as improbable as it is, I'm sure I still just, that was very effective. I think it could have been better the way that they did it, but like it still is an effective death overall.
Yeah, it is. And I learned that the reason that there wasn't any blood or any more graphicness is they shot this in a public pool, so they literally couldn't like put anything in the water to like look like sense. Blood or anything. So like that's why it's just him screaming underwater, and then you get the 3D blood coming out.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was like, I mean, it's fine. I don't necessarily like, I don't know why I would want to see more, because like I just assumed, I guess, it was a Final Destination movie that they would always do more than less. So it just was like I was always expecting way worse than this. But out of all the deaths in the movie, I would say that's the most original, at least. I'll give them that. Like, that's a unique death to add to the series. And I think people still call it out as like one of the best overall. Or like one of the most creative.
Yeah, I think one of the craziest thing is that scene apparently took 3 days to film. I'm like,
what? Was it because he kept like almost fucking drowning trying to hold his breath?
I guess. I don't know.
Because like that's what I would be worried about.
Maybe you just like the ass play. I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, if there was a real suction, it looked like there was, so you never know. Okay, then what's the next one?
Then we get to George trying to commit suicide, which
yes,
I think George might have solved the system, or he might have figured out the system. He couldn't kill himself, and I think it's because Death is clearly a man, because Death likes the pursuit. It's all about the chase,
the hunt. Yeah.
And so when George is like, I've accepted my death, and then he tries to kill himself numerous times and he can't. I think that's the thing. Death's like, no, I have to have like, if fun with this.
Yeah, like he has to like wait until like now that they're scared, he kills somebody else, and then now they're scared again, right? Oh, it's coming back, so now I'm scared, and now it'll be fun. Now I can, but he doesn't even have fun with him by the end, because he's the next death, right?
Yeah, because then
he just gets hit by a fucking car like the girl in the first one. Again, just, I mean, come on. First off, George deserved better than that. And second of all, I mean, he's like the only Mamie kind of character in the movie, and still such a cliche. But I think like he deserved better, and like it's stupid to do that again after we've already had that done in the first one so effectively. It's just like lame. Like, why go back and do the same thing again?
Yeah. We also get a weird thing where the entire movie we're getting these terrible 3D premonitions.
Yes.
But then we get the one time where the coffee or whatever spills on the newspaper and then it outlines the words. It's like, we're getting a different premonition now. Like, did you lose the budget to do another premonition? So got to go back to the original.
Now we're doing it something totally different because we've done too many 3D shots and we just don't have it in us anymore. We can't fucking do it again. But then he doesn't get like the premonition even for George, right? And you're like, what the fuck? So then they go into the hospital because it's like that fucking guy in the cowboy hat that you just totally wrote off, which like this guy had a fucking camera go back, right? Like they went back to the stadium because George is the security guy.
Yeah.
And they were able to like look at everything and he put it all back together. So it's like, I know that this guy like they didn't know he survived till just now, but it's like that would have been a thread I would have followed up on, you know?
Yeah.
Saw his death in the premonition. And if you're doing your research, it tells you all that stuff. It should probably tell you that like everybody who like lived is gonna die, right? So like you need to make sure you know who every single person is. Just the oversight, and he had the camera. Not every other person has that, right?
Nope.
Yeah, this guy has no excuses for being this shitty of a premonitioner or whatever he is.
And then the funny thing with the hospital guy, and this goes back to the Scion being airtight, the hospital room is airtight. It fills up like it's a shower. It's like, this isn't how it works.
And like that fucking nurse was just like the most totally just like worst nurse again. It's another worker that's just nonchalant about my job. I'm literally like this fucking tub. I love to take a good bath. So I know.
Me too.
If you are doing that regularly, you know the water level. You can't if it's that high, you got to turn that off.
Yeah, you can leave the room when it's you can leave the room when it's halfway.
Thank you, but not when it's fucking 3/4, almost like 90% full. And he's like, "See you later." And then that old guy's just, oh god. I mean, that old guy was a racist, so maybe he was kind of trying to kill him. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's why he locked the door and made it airtight. That's the other thing we don't know. I'm trying to solve the plot holes in this movie. It's not going to happen.
So then we get to the whole movie theater final thing, which...
Well, we're so clever and meta because it's a movie theater and you guys are watching this in a movie theater. That's why they thought they were so cool.
Watching a 3D movie.
That's what I'm saying. It's so stupid.
Also, this movie apparently was like the biggest movie of all time. This was like an Avengers Endgame level movie because there was 13 showings at this theater. I paused when it was showing
Dying or whatever, the fake movie in the movie.
Yeah, Love Lay Dying. Also thought it was really funny that the main character, when the girl said the name of the movie, he's like, "Oh, that's a chick flick." It's like, you thought Love Lay Dying was a 3D chick flick?
Yeah. Right?
Are you serious?
And also like just knowing that like the movie that they're there to see, I'm like, why are these two girls at this movie? And like this main girl is like, I'm gonna fucking see this movie. I'm like, she's acting like me when there's a really good horror movie out. And I'm like, I don't care if that's gonna get me. I'm gonna be here to fucking watch it. You know, like that would be me if it's like Jordan Peele's new movie's opening and I'm about to die. I don't care. I'm gonna sit there and watch it until I'm dead. Like, I'm gonna make it.
I was meant to see this movie.
Like she's there to see a movie like Drive Angry 3D or some shit. Like, that's what it feels like. Like, just a really bullshit action movie. And she just does not strike me, neither of them, as the type that would be like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, this seems like a Fast and the Furious kind of shit.
God, it was insane. But we do get I call it the Play-Doh, spaghetti Play-Doh death scene.
Escalator?
Yeah.
I like the escalator death. The 3D like is not as great, but still better than the rest of the deaths, most of them.
When I saw the escalator death, I was like, this would have been maybe the best kill in the franchise if this was not a 3D movie.
Totally. If it was practical, it would have been 1,000 times better because it just looks so fake.
Yeah, like the first moment when her foot gets caught, like that's pretty good because that was done practically, I think, from what I saw. But like, I could see them going way too far with it, where like they're like pulling the body, and then like you don't see the face, and then they do a cut of the face screaming.
Yeah, I mean, these are the guys who did that kind of shit in the second movie. Where's that energy? You know, they spent it all apparently on the opening disaster, which was not worth it.
And then we learn it's another fucking premonition.
Thank you. So I don't think, does that count as the best kill then? Like, can we count that officially because it's not real?
We can count it in the comparison of premonition deaths.
Okay, cool.
Which
That'll
is always going to be
category.
the log truck.
Yeah, that's still the best.
But so then we get to, I think my favorite laughable thing. I laughed my ass off. The barrels when he goes to like stop the explosion from happening. Did you notice the barrels? Sorry, the barrels. They said, warning, spontaneously combustible.
Perfect.
Which implies that they can just blow up on their own.
And I was like, is like it would normally just say like combustible, not spontaneously.
Warning combustible, warning flammable. But this warning may explode randomly.
Yeah, why do we have all these then? Why are they here? Who would make this? Yeah. It's like, did death fucking sell this product to these people? Like, this is just a bit much, okay? And I did actually enjoy on this whole sequence, which is just so boring and stupid. It's like they kind of saw the premonition of like at the end of the third one, and they're like, what if we did that but longer and worse? Again, just worse than the last version. So great start there. But I think the nail gun to the guy's arm was like decent. That was good. I was like, oh, that looks like more real and like painful, actually. I was like, ooh. But like the rest of this whole sequence, I'm just like the theater blowing up when the movie blows up. I'm like, well, that's just too much of a cliche.
Yeah, the nail gun was interesting, but also like the previous nail gun was way worse.
Again, it's just like it's taking a tamer version of things we've already seen and being like, here you go, this is new and exciting because it's 3D. It's like, no, this is just shit. This is all shit. I can't believe they even dared to call this movie Final Destination Final Destination.
And on that note, it ends in the worst way possible. Like the guy, he ruins Death's plan by setting off the sprinkler. If there's anything we've learned by this point, Death is a fucking plumber. He knows how to work with water, and it's like Mario. This sprinkler ruins my plans. I should have thought of that.
But that's what their whole stupid fucking twist at the end is that I didn't actually ruin Death's plan. This was Death's plan. The whole time was for us to be here at this cafe where we've been 1,000 times and it could have killed us 1,000 other ways. But no, it chooses to do it right now. And it's like, that was when he realizes it's like the writing that he's been seeing. It's here, it's coming or whatever. I just don't get that.
That was the thing that made me so mad, is that he looks down at the table and he sees it says it's coming, but then this time it was crossed off. We see earlier it says it's coming. This time it's crossed off. And then he moves his arm and there's something else written. It doesn't ever show us what was written.
I know. I'm like,
fucking truck comes and kills them all.
It's we don't even get to see
on the table.
I know. We don't even get to see their deaths because then they switch to the 3D X-ray skeletons like from the opening credits, which they're like, oh, this will be badass. But I'm like, no, this is stupid.
You guys are cowards and you don't have the budget to show us the deaths, which is why we're here.
R.I.P. to the director again. I'm sorry, but we just don't know what happened, man. I kind of feel like this whole thing is giving me vibes of like, you remember you watched Entourage, right?
Yes.
So you remember in like that season when he makes that Medellin movie and he's like, and it's really amazing and everyone's like talking about how incredible the director is. And then they do a follow-up movie and it's like fucking the worst thing ever. And everyone's like, oh, that movie was just like that director, everything like lightning in a bottle, getting lucky. And like he's actually really not that talented. I'm wondering, like, maybe that's what Final Destination 2 was. Like, no offense, but like kind of, I mean, I think he's really good with like some of the stunt stuff. Like he was a stuntman and a second unit director. I think he can do the action sequences in a lot of his other movies, but I just, Shark Night 3D he did, and that's a 3D movie and it's way better than this one.
Much better. He also did Snakes on a Plane, which I love.
Snakes on a Plane is fun, really fun.
Cellular, which is a good bad movie, but
that reminds me of like that's a throwback to like when they would have commercials like they're like those weird like on or fuck, cut this out. Never mind. I don't remember what I was gonna say.
The last thing I wanted to say about the ending, which is why it's a terrible ending. What was the fucking point of the penny guy? He pops up back at the end.
Yeah.
He's like, you saved a lot of people.
How does he know though? This guy was like under the fucking theater who saved everyone. How do they know that he's the hero? Unless he went out there and was like, I saved you all, which makes him a jackass.
Probably the same way that people know Death's plan, even though they're all dead. But I was just like, is the penny guy, was it originally supposed to be the guy from the previous movies, the mortician?
Tony Todd.
It's like, this is the only one he's not in or whatever. The first one he's not in. And it's like, was it supposed to be that guy? And they're like, oh, we got to have a weird, guy.
A weird black guy that tells them prophetic shit. It's like, that'll be the same. It's like, no, because this is a homeless guy. At least Tony Todd's character makes sense because he's the coroner. Yeah. And he's like he literally is he works at the fucking funeral home. So that makes sense that he would know something about death. But this homeless guy, unless he's a psychic or something, which he might be, because how did he know that this guy rescued everybody? But I did read that Tony Todd was not available because he was shooting Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen or whatever the fuck movie came out then. I don't know if that's the right name. I feel very pathetic for knowing that. But yeah, I mean, as much as I would say I can't believe he would do a Transformers movie over this, thank God he's not in this one, because that's the one saving grace, is that he's not associated with the shitty one. And thank God for 5. I can't wait that we're gonna finish this on a good note, because if this was the last one, what a shit way to end a franchise, right?
Yeah.
I'm almost shocked it didn't.
I'm so glad that I know that the next one is at the very least it's good. It's very good.
It still has a lot of the 3D stuff, because it only came out 2 years after this one, and it was still a thing, but it's so much better, and it's not heavily relied upon with the 3D, and there's actual plot and characters. It's kind of weird.
Well, I'm excited to watch that one, because I don't know anything about it other than the twist at the end that it's a prequel. So, but I'm still excited because I've heard nothing but good things about it. So that's it for this dumpster fire. This was our longest one yet,
because we had to shit on it.
Good time just laughing at it.
There's a lot of things to question in this movie, but not in a good way.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will see you next time on the last stop to our Final Destination 5.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're out here.